Good morning, friends. Jolene Philbrook here for today's Take 5. This morning I was sitting on my couch and I've got a decorated Christmas tree still there. I love putting the Christmas tree up every year because I use it as a time kind of like to reflect on our life. It's kind of like going through a photo album. I'm terrible, I don't have photo albums. So I use my once a year decorating the Christmas tree for that. But I love it because I go through our ornaments, I pick them out. I have one that's from Steve's grandma, who I was very close to. It's her favorite ornament. So I pull it out and I reflect and remember her and how we had to put her into hospice and watch her pass, probably the second year we were married. But I reflect on all of that and I look back on it in love. I see this time in our marriage where we got all these ornaments from friends when we would party with our friends for Christmas, and every year we'd do swap exchanges. For the first 8 years we were married, we didn't have kids. I reflect on that. I got everybody's name and the year they gave us the ornament. I got the stuff from the kids when they were little, the handprints or, whatever it might be. We have a hodgepodge Christmas tree. I used to try to do like the, beautiful coordinated colors. We stopped doing that once we had kids. But I love that part of Christmas because it reminds me of all these endings in my life, and it's so weird because at Christmas time I take them back down, endings and beginnings I should say, just all these beautiful times. First year we were married, Steve's mom made us a bunch of ornaments because she knew our Christmas tree would have no ornaments. We were newlyweds. So I look back and I see all these beginnings and endings of our life together, and it's really beautiful. But then I also see like garland that I don't like, junk that I don't want, that instead of stowing it, like I'm going to do today, I'm going to tear everything down, I'm going to stow a whole bunch of stuff, I'm going to throw some things. I'm going to get rid of them. And isn't that kind of like what it's like every year, every new year? We kind of wind down the year, we reflect on some things, sometimes some really hard things that have happened in our life. And Lord knows we all have had some hard things just with COVID and the changes in the world in the last 2 years. But then even some things from our past that we still are holding on to or whatever. The holidays can be tough. It can bring up a lot of memories. It can bring up a lot of things that we don't necessarily want to reflect back on. But I do believe that all of those things in our life are not by chance. We don't work or live for this cosmos where things happen by chance. They don't. I think the end of a new year is a great time to reflect on our life, but to not stop there. I don't want to stop there. We want to look back at what's ended, but then also look forward to what God has in store for us. And sometimes we get stuck in a rut where that's really hard to do, where we kind of tend to sit in our stuff, and we might stow it when maybe God's saying it's time to throw it, or it's time to get out and to move on, or whatever it might be. Because I do believe I've lived enough life following the Lord where I know for me personally, nobody can argue with my personal experience. God can and will take and use everything in my life for something if I give it to Him, if I put it under His authority. What seems like opposition, even right now in your life, one person once said to me that God can transform it into momentum and strength if you give it to Him. So opposition isn't always a bad thing. The things that we go through that seem to have no purpose and no hope, God can actually turn that into a new beginning when we give it to Him, when we put it under His authority. And sometimes it has to happen 100 times a day. I know for me, there's things in my past, in my life, in my family's life, where I have to still daily say, I'm going to forgive that person. I'm going to put it under the authority of God and just forgive every day. Do I feel like it? No, but when I feel those things creeping up in me that draw me back to something that is in the past, I have to say, God, what are you doing with this? And if I keep giving it to Him, He starts to give momentum and strength to go into the next season, into the new beginning. But we can't get to the new beginning until we release something and put it under God's authority. I love Isaiah 40:30-31. You've probably heard it, but let's say it again. Even youths will grow weary and tired, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will have their strength renewed. I really feel like that's what it's like when we decide to let go of some things or stow them up. We still want to remember certain things in our life and go back to them. But God says, I want to release. I want to be the wind beneath your wings. Verse 31 says, they will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. I don't know about you guys, but when we go through real struggles in our life, it is so easy to think that we are just going to fall from the nest like a baby eagle. But God says, no, I'm going to come underneath you and I'm going to lift you up if you let me. But it does take that exchange. So as we've come down off the old year, we're New Year resolutions, which I'm not a huge fan of. I just like to say, God, what do you have for me this year? And try to focus on that and realize that there's some assignments in our life that God is saying, you need to let go of those. Those were 2021. I have a new assignment for you in 2022. Those are the conversations you want to have with the Lord. But if you are struggling of letting go of some things, that really God's saying, let me have that right now. Let me take that. Let me turn those things of opposition and sadness or the things that draw you down. Let me turn those into momentum and give you strength to do what I've called you to do. That's when we can grasp Romans 8:28, where he says, I will work all things for good. I will work all things for good. And if you keep reading, it says, for those who love me. So I hope that encourages you today. A happy new year. Take care, River of Life.